Ladies and gents, and welcome back once again to Upshift Creek, the Formula One podcast with me, Ollie Pettigrew, and my amazing co-hosts, Nick Calderone and Ryan Sandler. Welcome back, guys.
Hey-o! And it's been weeks, so I have to kick it off with vroom, vroom, bitches. It's fun to be back.
I've missed that so much. I have.
It is good to have you back, Nick. We had to go a couple of weeks without you, but I guess that's what I want to do. So Ryan and I have been having some fun chats over the last few weeks, and there's been some interesting things that have happened. First of all, we had that first new sprint race setup, and we really want to get your input on the sprint.
I remember you saying you were like super thrilled about it, and really like we're hoping that becomes a permanent thing.
You know what? All jokes aside, listen. It was confusing, even for a person who follows Formula One. It was confusing. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine last night. Friday qualifying is for Sunday's race, but then Saturday really doesn't mean a whole bit of damn. It's like who's I didn't know. I'm not a fan. It was exciting on Saturday for a few extra laps, but otherwise, what's it for? I feel like the teams that have limited budgets are out there worrying about stacking it and costing more money for just an hour's worth of entertainment for new fans. And for that, I don't think it's worth
it. I see your point.
Yeah.
I do. I genuinely do see your point, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but I get twice as much racing in a weekend.
Like, and for me as a new fan, you're wrong, and I hate you.
Well, you're stupid and dumb, and you should follow NASCAR.
I'd never argue that otherwise.
But, honestly, Nick, that being said, I mean, it was Verstappen wasn't a fan. Toto Wolff wasn't a fan. A lot of the guys are like going, but what I liked was that they barely had any chance to practice. So throughout the whole weekend, a lot of them didn't know what the tires were going to do, didn't know how much downforce they needed. And a lot of people were kind of all over the place, that when it got to the race, there was a lot of random going on.
It kind of evened the playing field, so to speak, like it kept everyone on their back heel and kept them all guessing. And also, when is Max and Toto not upset about everything? Come on.
This is a fair point. This is a very fair point. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and keep beating it up, but
please do.
It just seems so pointless. And do you want racers who are putting their lives on the line going into a race not knowing what's going on, or
absolutely
not knowing
yes
the best way? Okay, then great.
But what I would say, Nick, to a slight counter to that though, there have been other drivers saying we get too much practice. Like they were saying that we should just have one practice session to figure it out and then get down to the race, which I'm like, I can kind of see it, because with 3 practice sessions, that's a lot of time to really dial in. Sometimes I'm like, just throw them out there.
I don't disagree. Fine. If they don't need all that practice, then what I would do is make Saturday's qualifying a little bit longer, spread it out. There's been so many times this season where drivers are racing up and nearly colliding into the back of the car in front of them because these guys can't get out of each other's own way.
Right.
Lap times have been ruined and is that part of qualifying? Yes. But I feel like we're right on the cusp of somebody really getting hurt in a packed qualifying session. If you don't want to have all that practice time and you want to spread it out. I don't know, either make qualifying a little bit longer or less cars on the track at the same time.
Actually, very quickly, I'm going to do a quick segue when you said about getting hurt. Have you seen, it's been going around online, the close call that happened in Formula 2 at Monaco this week?
No, I missed that.
There's a Formula 2? What are you going to say next? There's a Formula 3? Come on.
God, get ready to have your mind blown, my friend. But no, if you get a chance, if you guys are listening or if you guys are watching, but you guys as well, look it up. Basically, it's right at the top. So turn 1 and you go all the way to the top past the casino. There's that left turn. A car came off, it caught fire. 2 marshals are there on a blind corner, and it was 2 inches away. A car came around and almost took out 2 marshals. So safety, still a thing that's going on. But let's go back. We'll go back to what we were talking about, but that's something to definitely look up. Another thing we want to talk about with you, Nick, is this movie. So a lot of this stuff has been announced. The guys behind Top Gun Maverick, Joseph Kosinski and stuff, they've teamed up with Brad Pitt, with executive producer Lewis Hamilton, and Formula One's cooperation. They're going to make a Formula One movie. Yes, very exciting. Cool. but they are talking about they're going to field an 11th team with a sort of Formula 2 car with cameras in. I'm like, for someone that loves the purity of the sport,
Yeah.
this might drive you insane.
No, listen, come on. I've seen some of these back and forths, and I think all of that what you've said is great. Hamilton's involvement, awesome. Brad Pitt, man crush, hi, hottie, totally into that. Okay, I love the beauty of Formula One, and throw in a little Brad Pitt. Why not? Of course. But if anyone thinks that the FIA is going to allow a camera car on an active Formula One racetrack, you're out of your goddamn minds. If they are able to pull something off, they might be able to do it in some sort of practice session. You know how Hollywood is. Nothing's real. Nothing looks the way it's supposed to look. They're going to composite the hell out of everything. And don't worry about it. It's going to be fine.
I think you sound a little bitter you didn't nail the audition and get the callback is what's happening here, I think.
Look, didn't they need a Clooney stand-in? Come on.
There you go, man.
Well, I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised, like, for me, because they've been talking about from Silverstone onwards, this team, this car, this stuff is going to be happening. The production is going to be happening alongside the season. And I'm with you. I think they must know what they're doing. But at the same time, does it seem like the FIA knows what they're doing half the time? It's like...
It'll be exciting to see Brad Pitt get more points than Williams.
Ouch. Ouch, that hurts.
I see.
There have been moments of Williams' brilliance this season.
Name
Not
two.
this past weekend, but we have seen speed. Yep. It's happened.
They have been slippery, and Albon has been doing pretty good. All right, let's start talking about what is most years one of the most boring races on the Formula One calendar. I mean, everybody loves Monaco. Everyone wants to win Monaco, but since the cars got 25,000 feet long in this turbo hybrid era, these massive limousine cars,
it's ridiculous.
Overtaking has been impossible.
They look like some of the yachts in the marina when you see it from the aerial view.
Those were ridiculous. They were bigger than some of the buildings in that bloody city, but I'm saying has been because that wasn't the case in this particular case. Let's just start with qualifying, which was, I'm going to throw it out there, one of the most exciting qualifyings I've ever seen in Monaco.
So fun.
Yeah, and that's why you tune into Monaco. Everyone knows, especially, if you're a new fan, maybe you don't know, but everyone knows that the real action at Monaco happens on Saturday, period. And we got it in spades. I'm a huge Max fan. Everybody knows that by now, but I was kind of rooting against him at the end. When you saw green sector in 1 and 2, and Alonso's looking hot, you're like, oh my gosh, is Alonso really going to get pole?
Well, we'll get to
Q3 in the third sector.
Let's start off in Q1 because it started off very dramatically that Perez into the wall, turn 1, stacks his car in like the first 2 minutes. Perez is out. We're like, whoa, what?
Devastating.
And he went in hard. That was a big shunt.
Yeah. I was that lack of concentration? Was that what? I mean, I don't. That
he was going pretty bloody quick. I mean, I know that there was. I think it was a Williams exiting the pit, and that's the kind of thing that can unsight you and just cause that micro delay. But yeah, he went. That was such a surprise, and that was kind of what really kicked off the whole thing in qualifying because there were other mistakes being made because then Hamilton was on a flying lap and then he lost it into that chicane. So Sainz and Hamilton, with only 40 seconds left on the clock, both are in the bottom 5. And you're like, are they even going to make it out? It could have been crazy to have 3 top teams in the bottom 5.
Yeah. Good old-fashioned shakeup. So you love to see.
So they made it through with the skin of their teeth. Yeah. Like the very, after the checkered flag goes out for Q3, Sainz was able to jump up in the top 5. Hamilton made it through. And that's because, I mean, I was expecting something from the Mercedes because they upgraded, everything. They've put side pods on the cars now that everybody else has got. They've got new wings. They've got new floors. They've got new everything. And I'm like, okay.
Now, were they supposed to test all that stuff out at Imola? Was that the plan? Like all
yeah.
Right.
I mean, it would have been better to test it on a track that has some speed.
So, so a bit of a setback then.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. even Hamilton said it in some of the post-race stuff that, you know, he was excited for all these upgrades, but, you know, Monaco, you're going around at shopping cart speeds,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
So it's kind of hard to really test the aero. You know, mechanical grip is one thing, but it would have been interesting to see if Imola happened, but it's also interesting to see what's coming, you know, after Monaco from Mercedes. How crazy was it that that track got faster and faster and faster? Just,
It was
I
wild.
mean, every sector was improving and rubbering in. So that was
Mm.
kind of cool to see.
It was, and it's like, well, you know, like I've said it before, is that it's the weird thing about Monaco is it's surrounded by walls, and for the last few years, no one's gone into them. And it's
Yeah.
like this year they were like, let's try and make up for that. Because like Yuki's locking up, Ocon, he taps the wall, Lando hits the wall super hard, breaks his suspension during Q2. And then, yeah, so like everyone suddenly, and you could see all the advertising on the side is scraped
Yeah.
away. Like everyone's into the wall, everyone's scraping and kissing the wall left, right, and center.
I was kind of hoping that these F1 cars had reverse signals, you know, because every time somebody was in the wall, I was like, beep.
Oh man, that would have been sweet. Yes.
And so it ended up with sort of like Q2, we ended up with Leclerc, Alonso, Verstappen. They're all looking racy. Hamilton's still struggling, again makes it through with by the skin of his teeth. But what was really surprising, considering the sort of like the Aston Martins, is that we have Alonso up in second and Stroll goes out in 14th. And it's like Stroll was, I mean, Perez was having a shocker of a weekend. Stroll was having a shocker of a weekend as well. And this is kind of where it started.
Yeah. Not to jump ahead too far, but some contenders for Upshift Creek Award
time.
this week.
Yeah. But then, yeah, let's get to what you were talking about, Nick. The very exciting Q3 where it turned into P1 hot potato. Everybody wanted it. The track seemed to be at a perfect temperature. And P1 went from Verstappen to Alonso to Verstappen to Ocon to Leclerc to Alonso to Verstappen. And at one point, the top four were separated by a tenth of a second. That is so awesome that, I mean, you couldn't take your eyes off the screen.
It was so wild to see that. For me, it's like anytime I see a driver other than Max have the fastest lap in qualifying, I just know my hopes are immediately going to be dashed a few seconds later. I'm like, yeah, someone else. Oh, never mind.
But this time, I was convinced, man. Ocon goes top, and you go, well, that's awesome. And then Alonso with an absolute banger. And like Nick's saying, it's been purple. And then it cuts to Verstappen. He's on green, and it says +2. And you're like, oh, well, he's only got one sector to go. What's he going to do? Pick up 300ths of a second in two corners?
Yeah.
And then he picks up 300ths of a second in two corners. He even hits. Did you see? I didn't even notice it until after. He hits the wall on the start-finish straight.
Didn't he scrape the wall twice?
He pulled the classic. He pulled the classic Gran Turismo slingshot around the barriers.
Yeah, that was impressive. I was sitting on the couch and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not going to get pole. And then bang, I leapt out of the couch. And look, I get people are getting fed up with his dominance. I get it. But when you see that, you're watching greatness. Are we watching another Senna, another Schumacher, another Hamilton coming up? Like, although it's kind of annoying, it's also kind of spectacular what Max does.
Yeah, I agree. There was this great, it was going around on Twitter. I think ESPN F1 shared it as well, but it was an animatic. It's really cool.
I saw that.
Yeah, of Alonso and Verstappen. And you just see how it was kind of like his exit into the swimming pool, just set up the next three corners. And it's amazing the speed that he was able to take out of those last two corners to take pole that you can't argue. I mean, you've got to just go, wow, that's one of the greatest drivers being amazing.
His precision I remember you showed that with us over the weekend, and just seeing it like overlaid and him just slingshotting around those last two corners is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, I wanted Alonso on the front more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
So it ended up being Verstappen, Alonso, Leclerc, Ocon, Sainz. But then it comes out, and I only saw the video just last night, but Leclerc impeding Norris. So McLaren had pulled a blinder and rebuilt the front section of that car in 10 minutes, got it out for qualifying. Crazy. And then Leclerc is just like on a Sunday drive in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Norris
that was
goes in the back
scary.
of him.
That was scary. Did y'all notice or maybe even see the comparison of the paint scheme on the McLaren and how much it looks like a cigarette? Did you notice
Yes.
that?
Yeah, everyone's like, it's a triple crown. Everyone's like, no, they've just snuck cigarette advertising back into Formula One.
Yeah.
Finally.
What
It's
we've all been waiting
yeah.
for and missing.
So, I mean, that was it. That kind of set up a really interesting race. And like Nick said, 90% of Monaco is on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Most of the time. As we all tucked in for bed, there were those faint whispers that always happen for those races in Europe. Maybe there'll be rain. Maybe there'll be rain. And we're like, yeah, whatever. So race starts. Everyone's hoping Alonso's going to take a dive into the first corner. He doesn't. Max gets into the first corner. And at that point, everyone goes, well, I guess the race is over. Not so much, because it got pretty interesting right from the beginning. We had Hulkenberg gets 4 places in the first half of the lap by playing bumper cars, going straight into the side of Sargent. At the hairpin, it turns into the 405. It was fender benders up and down, and we had Lance Stroll trying to fit a car twice the size into a hole half the size. He's just banging up against the wall, smashing against the car next to him, and he's like, oh, got a bit of damage. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. What's
Stroll
FIA going to do? Just like, what's their strategy? Like, maybe if we make the cars a little bigger.
So yeah, Stroll. This was the beginning for Stroll. I mean, I think he was trying to see how strong the car was. I think through the entire race, because yeah, that whole thing. They're all banged up. He's banged up. Perez pits instantly for hards, as does Zhou, as does Hulk, and then we hear about Russell being out of position on the start. The FIA has been all over this year.
So. Okay, you know what? I saw that in the broadcast. I didn't look into it any deeper. Was he out of position, or was it just somebody going, hey, take a look at him, and they decided he really wasn't?
It took ages. Well, they did give him the penalty. Oh, no, they didn't. That was for something else. You're right. Yeah, it was like they talked about him being out of position. But the thing is, it's got sensors. That's the thing. Don't they have little sensors to let them know that if they're just like an inch off, then they finally get done? But it turned out
I feel like that's something guys who do an F1 podcast should know.
Yeah, probably. Wasn't George like perfect arm's length away? That's his unit of measurement. How many Georges am I from the other car? Typically it's 0 because he's just smashing into them.
Well, actually, it was about that distance, actually, because Verstappen's away. Alonso's holding onto the back of him. And then Ocon is pulling what is an Alonso from 2 years ago. He was the bus. He was the bus that just parked in the middle and just backed up the entire pack because he was clearly saving his tires. And so sort of Carlos Sainz gets a bit of the come on from Ferrari and he goes, yeah. And then he goes right into the back of Ocon, almost takes Ocon out of the race.
A lot of front wing action in this race.
There was a lot
of front wing action.
Yeah, it's almost inevitable though, right? On such a narrow track.
It's ridiculous.
You know, those tight corners and these huge cars trying to squeeze through. But what was exciting to me, yes, I wanted Alonso to jump Max at the beginning, but immediately within the first couple of laps, you start to realize, oh, wait a minute, Alonso's on a really cool strategy here. Mm-hmm. This is going to play out. It's going to take some time to play out. But I was sitting here like, okay, Alonso on the hard tires. Max isn't getting away that far. Like he's keeping touch with those mediums. This could get really exciting. And unless Max is able to stretch it out, Alonso's going to get the jump here when they swap tires. It
was definitely sort of shaping up to be one of those ones we were talking about the other day, Ryan, of like, you know, there's these strategies where they're racing side by side and there's the ones where on their opposite strategies. And this was an opposite strategy race. And that's exactly right. Alonso was holding onto the back of him. It was only 4 or 5 seconds back, which is way less than a pit stop. Then there was that heart in our mouth moment where Alonso comes over the radio and he goes, I think I've got a puncture.
Yes.
Around lap 14. And I'm like, no, don't take this away from me.
Yeah.
And it was like about 45 seconds before the guys come over the radio go, no, buddy, you're good. You're all good. Just keep racing.
Yeah.
And he does. But yeah, everything else was 20 seconds back. And then things kept developing because one thing you never see in Monaco is an actual overtake.
Yeah, seldom. Yeah.
they started happening. Unfortunately for Logan Sargent, three of them were on him in one lap. Because K-Mag ducked down the inside, and very impressively on like the last corner, Stroll and Perez got past him as well. That was one of those instances where, especially the Stroll and Perez one, where I felt like it was the rookie being bullied by the guys with experience. I'm just like, get out of the way. There's Monaco, loser.
Oh God.
He turned into a doormat there for a moment and just tumbled down the order. And it does feel like he was just mobbed, right? Just mugged right in the middle of Monaco.
Well, and then they go and put softs on him. And I said to my mates I was watching, I was like, I guess maybe they're just collecting data. That's what came back. The guys from Williams have said, yeah, look, Logan's having a shocker, so we're teaching him how to deal with tire degradation by putting on the crappiest tires and seeing how he can deal with it. I'm like, all right, fair play. You might as well rescue something.
It's not a great strategy, but it is a strategy.
It's not plan A, it's just A.
But it has to be a strategy that they're not surprised by, right? If you're going to put a rookie into a car that's struggled for years, into a team that's struggled for years, you're going to want to build together, right? So it's not surprising. I mean, as long as the guy doesn't go out there and put it into the marina, aces, right?
Yeah. I mean, oh my God, quick, again, segue. I'm going to go off to the side. The other video that's been going around from the Indy 500.
Yes.
Oh my God, the tire.
The wheel coming off and just missing the grandstand and hitting a car in the car park. Holy cow, I didn't even think that sort of stuff can still happen. That's what reminds us that, I mean, we have fun when we're talking about this sort of stuff. This is very dangerous. Motorsport is very dangerous.
Imagine leaving that race and going out to your car and be like, oh, shit.
I hope they got to keep the souvenir.
Souvenir, yeah, right?
That's my car, that's my wheel.
In Formula One, they give them the little tires that they all sign, and in Indy 500, you just get like a 300-pound tire smashed into your minivan. That's America, baby.
Get the driver to design your car, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
Like that. So then, all right, lap 30, it's crazy, but we've got Verstappen on the medium still, approaching Perez to lap him. And so this is where we're hitting the sort of the pit window, kind of like what Nick was saying is, you know, Max is on these mediums that are starting to die, but a lot of drivers aren't pitting because this rumor that we heard of rain is becoming a possibility. The clouds are building. They're hanging out over the sort of the mountain. So everyone's kind of holding on. Hamilton, Ocon, Sainz, they all pit. They bring in and switch their tires on. Stroll and Perez come together and do some bumper cars. And Max is on these dead mediums coming over the radio going, this car is flipping undrivable. You know, what do you want me to do? And the guy's on the radio going, if you pit, Alonso goes in front. And everyone knows Monaco track position is king.
Yeah. He was like super calm about it on the radio, though. I don't know what you're talking about. Really relaxed and chill and not yelly at all.
Kind of like Yuki. Yuki was,
oh my God.
Yuki complaining about his brakes was brilliant. He's like, what are you trying to crash me? I was like, I love you, Yuki.
Yeah.
Yuki
Never stop.
That was an Emmy-winning performance by Yuki yesterday. I please give me. This is when I wish I had the Sky Glass red button, because I would watch the entire race with Yuki's radio channel. That's all I want to hear.
It's like some sort of weird reverse ASMR where he's just screaming at you all the time.
The guy's such a character.
But we get Yuki screaming, which is good. Yeah, and as much as Max is complaining about undrivability, then Perez breaks his wing on K-Mac, goes into the back of K-Mac. I honestly, it's like Perez's evil twin turned up. You know, it's like because he's usually the king of the streets. Didn't he win Monaco last year? Am I wrong in saying this? Like he had it's just. I
think the frustration got the better of him.
Yeah,
I think he made that mistake in qualifying, and it just that's your death knell right there. You're done. Yeah. You know, you make that mistake on Saturday, you're done. Your weekend's done. The you know, pie in the sky idea that you're going to come from behind and finish in a top position at Monaco is just as impossible. Yeah. I don't care how good you are. I don't even, you know, Max can't do that. Hamilton can't do that. So I think maybe just the frustration really started to kind of get to him.
Well, the only way you're going to make any kind of headway in Monaco is if it rains. And it suddenly, like, Stroll hits K-Mag as well. I mean, Stroll was pretty much, it was like that bit from Days of Thunder, where Robert Duvall's like, okay, I want you to go out there and hit the pace car. Hit the pace car. Why? Well, you hit everything else on the goddamn thing. I want you to be perfect. Like,
Incredible.
Stroll just took out everything he could find. Leclerc pits lap 45. Max and Alonso stay out, and then lap 51, drops of rain. Are there drops of rain? Suddenly you can see it. See it on the visors. 25 laps to go, and that's where everything went crazy. I could barely keep up for the last 25 laps. It was electric.
Yeah, that, I mean, this was the first race for me seeing like the race going from completely dry to undrivably wet in almost the blink of an eye. And it was really crazy to see just all those cars out there with like non-intermediate tires just sliding around. Like, this is insane.
It was perfect. I was talking with my buddy. I said, look, I told him, look, it's going to be probably quite boring. Pray for rain. And when it started, it's like, oh, they might see rain. I said, look, buddy, the only way it could be really good if it rains on half the track. And it was just like, I was predicting everything that happened. I'm like, this is amazing. Because like you're saying, Ryan, there was half the track that just looked normal. Yeah. And then it cuts to around the bendiest, curviest part.
Oh, man.
And it's like, oh my God.
Ice. They were just, I mean, it was crazy to see that.
I mean, lap times dropped 15 seconds in the space of a lap, which was bonkers.
It was like black ice these guys were driving on. But tell me, and I mean, I don't think it was just me. You see the rain start to come down. I'm praying for a yellow flag just to make exciting. It doesn't come. And now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Aston Martin's strategy is going to play in perfectly.
Yep.
It's time to change tires. It's raining. Alonso's going to come in, undercut Max, put on intermediates, and just go out there and stomp it for the win. And they put slicks on.
I couldn't believe it.
I was like, are you kidding me? How do you F that up?
Yeah, that is that's lap 55. There's been a lot of slipping and sliding. Sainz goes off trying to take Ocon. And like Nick's saying, like, I'm waiting for someone to go in the wall, the safety car. But Alonso comes in. I'd say my buddy, here you go. He's going to put inters on.
Yes.
Like Max is going to be stuck on the mediums. He's going to be able to undercut him by a mile. And it's like, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. He comes out on mediums. and that's it, because Russell comes in for inters. Hamilton comes in for inters. Ocon. Sainz goes off again because he's still on slicks. And then Verstappen comes in for inters. And then Alonso 1 lap later comes in for inters. Mm-hmm. And then you watch the race progress, and it's like Max is an entire pit stop ahead of Alonso.
Yep.
And you wonder what could have been.
You know what could have been. Alonso could have won Monaco this past weekend.
Yeah.
If not for that decision. And I would like to know who made that ultimate decision.
Were they thinking the rain was going to stop? Like, what was their logic for that? Was the rain not heavy enough?
People went back, so I looked into this. The team radio is that, Alonso was questioning it. This kind of came from the team, from the strategy. They went with the slicks. I think at the point, the track conditions changed in the space of like 45 seconds. Basically, it was like, oh, it's only a little bit of rain. Let's put the slicks on. It'll dry off quick enough. And then suddenly, like I said, those 4 or 5 corners were a disaster area. And that was it. That was the decision that stole the win from Alonso. I'm with you, Nick, that it was like. Yeah.
But now you say that, and he still managed to keep P2 on those tires.
So far ahead that they were of the others.
Yeah.
That he was. Yeah. The fact that it didn't cost.
Thank you, Ocon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But also, thanks, Ocon.
Yeah.
Because it was still because it was half dry, half soaking. Some actually went onto full wets.
That was research. The ones that went on to full wets, I think, were simply research
for their teammates. Yeah, I can see that.
Tires or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I think that was that was such a bummer decision. It really was. I mean, by that time, cars were sliding off the corners.
Yeah. Like Stroll went into the wall again and again. So he hit the wall a couple more times before finally retiring. K-Mag went into the wall. And the things like Nick's saying is, it is astounding that we didn't have any safety car, no VSC.
Crazy.
Like, how did this happen? Because imagine if, like, okay, fine, it happened, but if a safety car had come out, everyone's there, and maybe we could have had a bit of a duel. But it's amazing. Everyone kept the cars going. Yeah. It's incredible.
But also too, if there was a safety car, at the size that these cars are on this track, I mean, it would have just been a complete traffic jam. It would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been great.
Well, who at Red Bull came over the radio? I don't know if it was Newey or Horner. I forget. It was like they said to Max, just keep it on the track.
Yeah. Tell us what you need to stay on the track. Yeah, and that's the thing. 100%. Well done on that one. Is that they were like, Red Bull knew their assignment, and it's like, Max, what do you need?
Yeah.
You know, I think it went the other way at Aston Martin. Is like, this is what we think you need. You know, I would listen to Alonso. He's got a little bit of experience.
Yeah. Well,
He's been around the block.
Sometimes these Ollie, I'll use one of your words. Sometimes these boffins sit in an office with no windows, looking at computer data instead of just step outside. Look at what's going on.
Listen to the nerds, people. Listen to the nerds.
Well, the drama wasn't done there. Russell went off and then joined. You can't look, you can't turn. You've got all of these devices. He runs into Perez, which just makes Perez's day even better. And then
it wouldn't have been a Formula One race without George smashing into another car, though. That's usually plan A. Is like, well,
and also asking for the team to help him out in some crazy way. The schemes that he comes up with behind the visor is pretty fascinating.
I will give him credit because he got the 5-second penalty, and he was only at the time about 6 or 7 seconds ahead. I want to say Leclerc.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, if you let me pass Lewis, but I stay within 5 seconds of Lewis, then Lewis can hold on to the place, but I can protect myself from the guy coming behind.
I pinky promise that I'll give him the position back.
But I will say the fact that you can come up with that kind of theory and calculation while driving in Monaco in the wet, I'm like, I could barely just remember my name doing something.
Ollie, that's the point. Fair enough, but what George seemed to forget was that his plan was trying to play out at Monaco in the rain. Like, who's going to allow you to take that kind of risk and put your teammate at risk on some kind of wet chicane on the wrong tires? It was just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Well, speaking of wet chicane, then we had Perez hit a tank slapper going through, and he went into the wall again. Amazing. What do they make these Red Bulls out of? I swear, they're incredible. They could take a beating.
You know what's funny, Ollie? You're sitting here recollecting all of these times the cars hit the wall, and it just once again bangs the gong that there were no full course yellows.
Yeah.
I forgot how many cars tapped the wall until you started going through them all. And again, it's like, how did we not have a safety car?
For as much contact as there was during this race, it's shocking.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Like Jodie Foster level contact.
Yes.
Me sitting there hoping, I'm like, come on, someone spin out, let a tire fly off into the stands. Oh wait, sorry, different race.
So in the end of it, pretty much, Verstappen goes. He's 20 seconds up, and then with just a few laps to go, Verstappen hits the wall. Verstappen goes along the outside, like you were saying, the Gran Turismo. He goes bang, 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 bang around the wall, and you just
he was just jealous that everyone else was, and he's like, I can do it too, and I can still win.
Can I join in on this?
Yeah. You think you're better than me because you can hit the wall and keep going? No.
Oh wait, something I do want to talk about before we get to the finish was, because pretty much the race, even with all this drama, finished the way it started, apart from the tradition of Ferrari going backwards. Ferrari getting in their own way. But the part where they were like, were they trolling Sainz? They go, box, no, stay out. And then 2 laps later, box, no, stay out. And then it was like,
oh my God.
Guys, what are we doing? This guy needs to concentrate.
The bit of his wing barely hanging on. And he's like, I want to just clip the wall and get that thing off and continue your race.
I was curious about that too. I was sitting there thinking, they can't be still confused on strategy, can they? I'm thinking, no, they must be just trying to, catch a team out by, these little fake out box.
I was wondering.
I like when it would cut to the pit crew just standing there holding the wing, like,
are we
like first time?
Are we not? Are we? Yeah. You want to come in?
That was so
can we
weird.
fake you out?
I swear to God, if I'd have been Sainz, I'd just been like, I would have been driven crazy by that one.
He didn't sound too thrilled about it on the radio.
No, there was that bit where he was really angry on the radio. He was, I don't care about Hamilton.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that's exactly what I told you was going to happen.
Yeah.
Ferrari is one of those teams that is it.
Fueled by frustration.
Yeah. Kind of like the guy that's just the guy or girl that's just hard to love.
Yeah.
You know, everybody wants to race for Ferrari, but if I hope they come with a good mental wellness package if you sign with them, because
every driver is like, I can fix him.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, they don't. They don't.
That is so accurate. Everyone's like, no, I'm the guy that can bring it back to Ferrari. Oh, they screwed me, and now I will go retire.
Yeah, well, boy, here I go crying in the shower again.
So it ended up, kind of like I was saying, Verstappen takes a well-deserved win. Alonso gets a second on the podium.
Yeah.
Then Ocon, Hamilton, Russell. What I liked as well was, and people are talking about it, but how Alonso kind of brought the guy from Red Bull up to take the picture, and then you kind of see him put one leg up on first on the top step of the podium, and everyone's like, "It's about sending a message."
He's like, "That. Oh, I missed that. That's cheeky."
Don't worry, I got it in the queue. I'll show you later.
Oh, excellent! All right, so before we get to the dank zone, let's do what we like to do here and hand out our 2 awards. So let's start with the Upshift Award. That is the award that we hang out for the person or team or entity that just had an absolute banger of a weekend. And it's probably going to be no surprise to you, but I've got 3. It's Max, Alonso, and Ocon. I think I'm leaning towards Ocon for just pulling something out of the bag, because he's been under threat. He even got threats from like the management of Alpine going, if he doesn't pull his socks up, and then the very next race he goes out, almost gets pole and gets a podium. So I'm just going like, okay, Ocon.
But
nice
now,
job.
if that was any other track than Monaco, I mean, different scenario would play out. I mean, I had him on my list too. Like, he had great qualifying and got P3 and held on to it the entire race. But any other weekend, any other track, hard to say he would have ever driven as well.
I am hearing you. I'm hearing you, Ryan, and I know what you're saying, because I think I'm actually going to give my Upshift Award to actually Team Alpine, because Gasly did pretty well too. Alpine has been vocal in the media saying, look, we're spending $500 million on this team and we are not getting results. Well, finally, this week they got some very healthy results. I think the timing of all of this did work in Ocon's favor. Clearly, the track rubbered in. They were out on track at the right time. He put in the right lap at the right time, and boom, you wind up in a great place to start Monaco and finish Monaco in 3rd. However, they didn't have any mechanical failures. He stayed out of the wall, and he drove a pretty decent race. He was slow compared to the front 2, and he did kind of back people up behind him, but Alpine got the result that they've been looking for a while. So Upshift Creek goes to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Upshift goes to them.
I can go. Yes, I can go with you on that one. So then, the Upshift Creek Award, which is always more fun, which is the award that we hand out for whoever had a shocker, as usual on the list, Ferrari, but also Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll, who had the biggest shocker. I think as much as Stroll had, like, it was awful, I think I'm leaning towards Sergio Perez for just being so off his game. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. You could even hear it in his voice. I think this is a weekend he would rather like delete if he could. He would rather forget.
It's unfortunate, yeah. For as consistent and as great as he's been doing all season, it's such a bummer to see that happen in qualifying. And
yeah,
it's kind of sucked.
What are you thinking, Nick?
I'm going to disagree, actually. Perez has been great. He's still 2nd in the points. Red Bull is a solid team. He made a mistake. Yeah. Everybody does. And I think at Monaco, that mistake is just amplified more than other races. It's very difficult to come back from a mistake. So I'm actually going to give Upshift Creek to Lance Stroll, because the Aston Martin is a fast car.
Right.
Alonso has consistently outperformed Stroll. Stroll has consistently made mistakes. Aston Martin as a team should be higher up in the team constructors points than they are. And it's because Stroll is not performing at a level that his veteran co-driver is performing at. So if we're looking long term, I'm giving the upshift creek to Stroll. He needs to step up. He's got the car. Stop making mistakes.
Does Papa Stroll have like a different son he can just put in if this one doesn't work out?
I hear he's
Fernando.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting adoption papers for Fernando Alonso. It's kind of like, what is it? The guy from Blades of Glory that unadopts him.
Yes.
It's like, you are no longer my son because you are not a champion.
Let me clarify real quick. I should know. Aston Martin actually is in second place in constructors.
But you're right. They would have more points if Stroll was,
because they're only in second place by 1 point over Mercedes. It's 119 to 120.
Do you think his daddy's going to cut his allowance this week? Like, what's going to happen there?
Well, he's going to have to because of all the damage he did to that car. He's like, you're not taking my car out again. Give me those keys. Give me those keys. No.
Am I doing good, Daddy? Am I doing good, Daddy?
Are taken away.
That joke
must be an awkward, like,
does it? It's such a good theme to play.
Do you think he's going to invite Alonso over for like Thanksgiving dinner, and it's just going to become really awkward in that household?
Fernando, do you want to date my sister?
Oh God.
Do you want to do my wife?
Yeah, too late.
It's a double stack. All right.
Hey.
Before we finish, though, we've got to check in with the best source of Formula One news on the internet, Formula Dank on Reddit, the best place for all the spiciest Formula One memes. Which means it's time to visit the Dank Zone with Ryan Sandler. Ryan, what have you got for us?
We've really got to find a better name for that.
No, the Dank Zone. I love it.
And again, just to clarify, the Dank Zone is just not what I call my basement. It is
anymore.
Yeah, allegedly. Oh man, these were great. You guys, again, as always, you guys really put in the effort on these, and most of it I don't understand, but I know these are just what I think are hilarious to me. And there was the whole thing we never even talked about during practice, the cars going off the track and then lifting up and then finally getting to see the undercarriage of these cars. Was something special.
Yeah, Mercedes have brought this track. So the one that we're looking at here is the car being craned off. It looks like it's Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes, but the crane has been replaced by the guy from Mario Kart. That floats around on the cloud that's carrying him off. But yeah, everyone's saying Mercedes put all this work on a new floor and then they got spoiled in the first 5 minutes. Oh, that's what they did.
Right?
It's like going down the line and lifting up the loincloths. So that's what you're packing, huh? This one was great. Nick Cage and help me out with his name.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
It's the scene from the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent where they're coming up on acid, and Nicolas Cage is Checo thinking he can fight for Max for the championship, and Max with Pedro Pascal smiling at him, just Max lapping him twice. It was like, so much for that championship there, Checo.
Oh man, that's such a bummer.
I don't pay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Sorry.
I don't pay much attention to the memes usually, but there was my favorite one that came out this week was the one that said what society would look like if
I've got it.
Taken
I have I have that one to the list for you. That's a great one. Like this solar punk world is fantastic. We'll get to it. But now this one I pulled this one for Ollie because I thought it was hilarious.
It's the sergeant in the war just saying average American on European roads. He's on the wrong side of the road. Nicely done.
And just to keep it going, because you mentioned this earlier.
Yeah. Who said overtaking in Monaco is hard? It's a picture of Logan Sargent passed by 3 cars in 1 lap. Yeah. Sorry, buddy.
This one was great. There's a text conversation between George and.
It's a text conversation from George Russell to the team. and it's just a bunch of unanswered text messages. Can I pass? Can we swap positions? Let's swap positions. Can I go through? Can I pass? Hello, please respond. Can I pass? Hello, please respond.
So thirsty. So thirsty.
Left on red.
Oh God. this one's pretty brutal.
Okay, it's Charles Leclerc looking sad. 77% of all vehicle accidents happen within 15 miles of home.
Absolutely brutal. Brutal.
Oh, the poor guy is cursed in Monaco. It
Yeah.
really does seem like he's cursed.
And in the interviews, the post-race interviews, did he not just seem to be so resigned to his station in life at the moment?
Poor Charles.
Last two I got because you mentioned
yeah,
it
here you go,
earlier.
Nick. This is the one.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
It's the picture with Alonso with his foot up on the top podium, and it's like it's about sending a message. He's coming for you, Max.
I like the God Lonzo tag on Formula 9 too. That's a nice touch. And then
Last one, here we go.
Nick, this one's for you.
Oh yeah. Sorry for jumping the gun. Yeah. This is
Oh,
Yeah,
very
there
good.
Society, if Alonso pits for intermediates instead of slicks, and the world is, it's amazing.
Utopia.
It's
utopian world.
It
yeah.
would have been incredible. Thank you for the spicy memes once again, Ryan, and also to all the guys on Formula.
Yeah, thank you, Formula Dank. I mean, you're the real heroes here. Yeah, you're the real heroes here.
That was a great race. Looking ahead, is it next weekend coming up? Is it Spain, right? We have Spain, 2nd to the 4th of June, which is a good track. It's a good race, and it's nice that we've got, we've been getting denied all these races of the years gone on, that I feel like we're getting a little bit of momentum. We get to watch some races back to back to back.
Finally, this season started, and that long break was just the worst. I hope they don't do that again next year. And then Imola was canceled. I still just feel like I'm waiting for the season to start.
And to be clear, you want more sprint races is what you're looking for?
You know what? Can we do the sprint races on like Wednesday?
That would be great. That would be awesome. Yeah, awesome. Well, look, guys, that was fun. As always, chatting Formula One, chatting the spicy memes, but also just having a good time chatting with you fellas. Ryan, thanks a lot for joining us.
Of course, yeah.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be back.
Thanks for all of you listening at home. Like, subscribe, share, join in the conversation. Also, join us next time. We'll be talking Spain, y'all. You gonna say it, Nick? You gonna say it?
I said it at the beginning. I don't want to ruin it.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
boo.
Oh,
Only once per episode.
Vroom, 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 B words.